Yes, sir. Focus, focus. There we are, baby. What's going on, guys? It's Logan, and welcome back to the YouTube channel, man. We're here. I am here. And we're going to be doing a ranking on all the Scream movies today, man. I watched Scream 6 this past Friday with a buddy of mine, actually Braden, who I'm also, we have like a little podcast together called Actors POV, and we're going to be doing the actual Scream 6 review on the podcast. It should be on your screen right now. Podcast will be out within the next few days, so be ready for that episode. We're gonna do an Oscars reaction, and we're gonna do a Scream 6 review, a spoiler review alongside some acting news. So be ready for that. It should be a lot of fun. But I'm not gonna do a full review today. I'm just gonna rank all the Scream movies now that I've seen Scream 6. So might be a little controversial, but should be interesting. So I'm just not going to sit here and talk. Might as well just dive into the review, or into the ranking, I guess. And you guys let me know your ranking down below so I can compare it, talk to you guys, see what you think, because you might not agree with some of mine. You definitely won't agree with some of mine, because I got some really interesting ones in here. But let's go ahead and dive into it, man, with my number 6, which is Scream 3. This is like the one that everybody goes after for their last pick in the Scream movies, and understandably so. This movie was supposed to be something totally different. It was actually supposed to be Stu. Stu was supposed to be orchestrating this group of high school kids that was going to be torturing Sydney in Scream 3, but then Columbine happened, and they were like, yeah, teenagers killing, not going to do that right now. So they obviously made Ronan, right, his name was Roman, the killer of just Sydney's long-lost brother. Yeah, I mean, it's a good film, I guess. I wouldn't say it's bad, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's good, so it's more of like an eh for me. A lot of cool moments in it, I guess. They get rid of Cotton Weary right at the beginning in the opening sequence, which thank God, because I hated Cotton Weary. I know that's kind of a controversial statement there too, but listen, I just can't stand the character, not the actor. He did fine, but just the character alone I just thought was super annoying, and that's actually one of my biggest cons for Scream 2 is they focus so heavily on Cotton. I just can't deal with it. But, you know, it definitely takes a more comedic route in this movie, and it's just kind of a stupid Scream movie. They just kind of have fun with it. They make it lighthearted because of the Columbine stuff, and there's really not a lot of gore in it, not a lot of blood. I mean, a lot of cutaway kills. So because of that, it's not my favorite. When I watch a Scream movie, I want to see some crazy, gnarly stuff, and this movie just doesn't have that. It is kind of cool, I guess, to see, like, you know, the actors, and then, you know, the people playing the characters in Stab, and then seeing the actual characters there with them, if that makes sense. Like Gale Weathers and the girl playing Gale Weathers. Like, that's kind of cool to see them tag team, I guess, with the mystery aspect of it. But overall, this movie was missing a lot of the fundamental things that Scream is built on. Whether that's the mystery, whether that's the killer. It all seemed very, like, I don't know, you could tell this wasn't their first idea when it came to this film. Number 5 for me is Scream 5. You know, this is a movie that just was, I don't know, man. You know, it's a film that was very safe. Yeah, they killed off Dewey, but that was the biggest risk they took, and I thought it was a really bad choice. Now we got Courtney Cox, you know, playing Gale, who's still living past Scream 6, which I'll get to that in a bit. I just don't understand that. They didn't kill her off. But you kill off Dewey, David Arquette, he's like the soul of this franchise, maybe even more than Sydney, and you kill him off like that in a very, like, I don't know, it wasn't great. It was like, it was a really dumb way to let him go, and, you know, Dewey should probably already be dead, I'm not gonna lie. He's already been stabbed like 9 times before Scream 5, but, like, even then, it's like, you're gonna take that from us. Like, I'm all about killing characters, and that's something that bothers me is when they don't kill characters. Scream 6. But you got to do it the right time, and this was not the right time to do it. But this is probably like the most, like, I don't know, man, unmemorable Scream movie. I watched this movie like a week ago getting ready for Scream 6, and I just don't remember a lot from it. I've seen it 2 times now. The main characters, the new crew that came in, really not interesting, and Scream 6 did a really good job of kind of making them interesting, which we'll get to in a little bit. But these characters weren't really interesting. You know, these the legacy characters just seemed like they were just there. They didn't really have any impact on it at all, which I was like, okay, That's cool. I understand why they were there. It's a requel, right? It's the requel film entry, but like it felt very like, I don't know. They didn't feel important. Like you could literally get rid of Sydney and Dewey and Gale, and the movie just doesn't really change much. Now the gore was really cool, but there wasn't a lot of like creative stuff. I mean, you know, I guess you had the knife to the neck on the one guy and stuff like that. But it just, I don't know. This movie just felt like a very safe Scream movie, and it didn't take a lot of risks, and because of that, it just is really unmemorable, besides Dewey dying, which I'm just still so pissed about. Number 4 for me is Scream 4. This is great how this is working out. So yeah, Scream 4 is number 4 for me. Listen, when I first watched this film, I loved it. It was my second favorite Scream movie. I stood by this film. I defended it with everything that I had. And then I watched it for a second time when I was going to get ready for Scream 5. And I was like, nope, dropping down a little bit, but it was still like maybe like my third favorite Scream movie, you know, or maybe like third favorite Scream movie. I watched it again recently for Scream 6. It's not great. You know, there's a lot of bad things in this movie. The dialogue especially, I don't know what was going on with that, but the one-liners were just not good. Gale Weathers just, you know, going like, oh, I still got it, as she's walking away. That was kind of stupid. These are just a few examples. That wasn't great. The one cop that gets stabbed in the forehead, he's like, you know, screw you, Bruce Willis, as he dies. It's like, bro, it's so cringy. And I understand this is 2011, and that's what a lot of 2011, early 2010s movies were. But it just did not work in this movie. And they try to like combine the comedy of Scream 3 and the brutality of the first two Screams. Just didn't work for me. Didn't work for me at all. And that's kind of my big negative with this film. Another big negative I have with this film is, you know, these are probably my second favorite killers in the entire franchise, of course, behind Billy and Stu. Just because they had, like, I don't know, the reveal was really cool. And there was a lot of clues throughout the movie that kind of pointed you toward their direction, which I love to see. And we haven't really had that in the past two films, in Scream 5 and Scream 6. That's something that they've been missing. But Wes Craven did a really good job with that in this film, better than Scream 3 and Scream 2, in my opinion. But the one thing that really bothers me is Jill Emma Roberts is 5'2", 5'3", she's around there. And then you have the Culkin guy, Rory, I think it's Roy, or is it Rory Culkin? Something like that. It's a Culkin kid. He's like 5'5". You're telling me that these two went on a crazy murder spree? There's no way. There's no way that happened, dude. I'm sorry. Billy and Stu were pretty believable. Mickey was believable. Even Roman was pretty believable. These are probably the most, like, unrealistic killers in the entire franchise, but it's still super fun to watch. And the reveal is really good at the end. I love it. And they have this crazy eeriness about it, especially Jill, Emma Roberts as Jill, man. She is really, really good in this film, especially that last moment, you know, where she's kind of staging the entire scene, the crime scene at the end. Really fun stuff, man. And she was just a crazy psychopath, and I thought she played that role pretty well, even though a lot of people say she didn't. But God, man, But man, there's so many good moments in this movie, some that I just stated. But, I mean, there's also so many moments that I'm just kind of sitting there scratching my head and cringing out loud. And this is, to be honest, the last movie that the legacy characters really had something to do in. When it comes to Scream 5 and Scream 6, they just were there. And so this was good to see. Number 3 for me is going to be Scream 6. Now, this is a movie that just, you could tell, brought that energy back. Scream 5, I thought, like I said earlier, was a very bland Scream movie. You kill off the best character in the franchise, the best legacy character that felt like he still maybe had something to do, maybe. And then, you know, the characters aren't interesting. Everything's very bland. This movie, they took it up a notch, and they had fun with it, dude. And, you know, I was really, really uninterested in this film when they first announced it after Scream 5. I was like, all right, I did not like Scream 5, was not the biggest fan of it. And then I was sitting there, and then I watched the little trailer, the little teaser trailer, and it showed the memorabilia, showed like the little room full of all the artifacts and actual stuff from the previous films. And I was like, this is for me. So, you know, I saw the old Ghostface costumes and the masks, and that's what brought me into this film. And I'm so glad I went and saw it in theaters because it's a really, really good movie and a really good Scream movie. This is where the Scream movies go from good to great, in my opinion. This is a great Scream film. A lot of good stuff in it. Let's start with the characters, man. The characters are really, really good. You got Sam, you got Jenna Ortega, you got all of the, Chad, Mindy, all these characters, the core four is what they call themselves, coming back from Scream 5, and they were incredible. Like, it's so weird because in Scream 5, they were just so bland, and I think it's because they wanted to focus on the legacy characters still, which once again, they just felt like they didn't have anything to do. But they wanted to focus on the legacy characters in that movie and didn't give time for these characters to really expand and grow and mature. But in this film, they did. And it focuses on these characters, and it was really, really fun and a really good time to watch. From the beginning of this movie to the end, you are just sitting there. I mean, your heart is pounding, you're into it. It's a very exciting film. I mean, the opening alone is probably my second, maybe third favorite opening. Scream 1 and 2 are really good. So it might be my third favorite Scream opening, but you're sitting there and you're like, there is 17 different directions for this movie to go with the one guy, with their killer revealing himself, Tom, I don't know his last name, but I was like, oh my god, this is insane. And you just didn't know where they were going to go with it. And then same thing throughout the entire film. You're sitting there and you're in amazement. I mean, the brutality of this Ghostface. You get so many good moments with the killers, especially when you see the two Ghostface come out on screen at the same time, dude, and should have killed Chad. Oh, I'll get to that in a second, but they start stabbing Chad and they wipe their blade at the same time, bro. Oh my god, that was like, I was flipping out, dude. And Braden, who I went and saw the movie with, is more of a casual Scream fan. I don't think he's even seen all the Scream movies. And he was looking at me, he was wondering why I was freaking out. Because I'm like, bro, we've never seen that before. We've never seen that. And I was flipping out the entire film. A lot of good stuff in it. The directors and writers really knew what the fans wanted with this movie, and they delivered. And the New York atmosphere is really good. I was also wondering how they would play into that. It felt like New York. It was really, really well done by them, and they utilized the New York stuff really well. And the killer mystery was actually pretty good. Scream 5 really lacked in that for me. But this movie did a really good job at that. You know, there's a big scene that people are saying is kind of cringy, but when Mindy is surrounded by all the, the characters, all the new guys, they're all talking, and she's really laying out in like a very Randy type monologue, where she's kind of laying out the rules and everything, and accusing people. Like, that's what I love to see, and it felt very Scream 1 and Scream 2, and I loved it, man. It's something we've been missing for a long, long time now, and we got it. Also, the absence of Sidney, I didn't feel it, which is really well done, and big props to everybody behind the scenes. They did a really good job with that, and once again, it has to do with the character development. These writers said, all right, we got to really give these characters some depth in this film, and that's exactly what they did. So big props to you guys. They literally just they just kind of threw Sidney to the side, and not in a bad way, in a good way, though, with just saying, yeah, she wanted to be with her kids and wanted to keep her kids safe. That's all we needed, and they did a great job with that, and yeah, it was really well done, so big props to them. Now, I have so many cons with this film, though. While this movie was great, had a lot of great moments in it, like I just said, this movie had problems. There's a couple that I want to talk about, man. Number one is the characters made the dumbest decisions. The main cop that's like the main Ghostface guy, right? His two kids. At the end of the movie, he has a gun, and he's looking towards Sam. He runs at Sam with a fully loaded gun with bullets in the chamber, and he runs towards Sam. Why not just shoot her? Just shoot her. I was sitting like that. That's just one example. Another example. Gail, what are you doing? She's in a closet when Ghostface attacks her, and the door is locked. I think she even had a gun, right? She had a gun. She could have called 911, waited for people to come get her. She goes outside. What are you doing? And then goes to the most open area in the entire house. I didn't understand that. Also, apparently she doesn't care that her boyfriend just is dead on the ground. That's another thing, too. When Sam and Jenna Ortega are sitting on the steps at the end of the movie, do they know that, like, 3 of their friends are stabbed right now? Which they know, by the way. 3 of their friends, Kirby, Chad, might have been one other person, too. They're stabbed on the ground, bleeding out. And they're sitting there having, like, this sentimental conversation about how much they love each other. Help your friends! Help your friends, do something. No, they're not going to do that, though. They're going to sit there. I understand it's a very wholesome moment. I get that. But your friends are dying. Your friends are on the floor bleeding out. Go get them. And then my another point of, like, characters making dumb decisions. This isn't every Ghostface movie. Just get all together and fight them. Or if Ghostface is on the ground, don't run away. That happened so many times in this movie. If Ghostface is on the ground, get a gun and shoot him. In the head, not in the bulletproof vest area. Hit him, shoot him in the head. But no, they don't do that. They just run away. That's with every Ghostface movie, though, so I can't really fault this Scream for that. And then there's a couple other things I want to talk about, but I'm going to save it for my Scream review. But my next biggest con for it is nobody died in this movie. Nobody died. No one died in this movie. I love Kirby to death. I didn't mention her in the Scream 4 ranking. I did I think that was the last one, right? But listen, she's incredible, a great character, did a really good job in this film. But dude, she got stabbed like 14 times. She needs to be dead. I'm sorry. It was a pretty good ending with her. And then Chad probably looks like a Swiss cheese right now, okay? My boy got stabbed at least 17 times, okay, by the two Ghostface. How was he not dead? Listen, I understand people point out, people get stabbed a lot. Some people get stabbed like 20 times and they survive. I get that. But when every single character gets stabbed multiple times, they need to die. At least one person needs to die. Not everybody survive. And it just, you lower the stakes at this point, because now going into Scream 7, which they're definitely going to make a Scream 7 because it's doing really well in the box office right now. I think the best opening, I believe, for any Scream movie ever. But now when I go watch Scream 7, if someone gets stabbed 14 times, I'll be like, oh, they'll live. They'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. Guys, you're literally just, you're making it less fun to watch. You have to kill people off. Gotta do it. I know you killed off Dewey in 5, whatever. At least kill off Gale. Listen, I know this is this is a very unheard of opinion. I don't like Gale as a character. Since Scream 2, since Scream 3, I don't like her. Especially what she did to the kids after Scream 5, right in the book when she said she wouldn't do it. She needs to die. Get rid of her, please. She was so unneeded in this movie. Just get rid of her. Kill her. Kill off all these characters that got stabbed multiple times. Kill them, please, please. Good news is though, I think Stu's gonna be back in 7. I really do, and I'm gonna stand by that. And if you want to know the reason why, go to my podcast, Actress POV, and get ready for that movie review. It's gonna be fun. Number 2 for me is gonna be Scream 2. I love Scream 2. It's a great film, and the reason I think I enjoyed Scream 6 a lot more than Scream 2. But the reason I like Scream 2 so much is it has that Wes Craven feel to it. These new Scream movies just don't have that Scream feel, I guess, if you guys know what I'm talking about, which is the Wes Craven feel. The tone's different, the atmosphere is different, the stakes feel higher. It feels just like a Scream film, and I mean, from probably my second favorite opening to any Scream movie ever, with Jada Pinkett Smith getting stabbed on stage and everybody going crazy, which was obviously super unrealistic. Nobody goes that wild in movie theaters, but whatever. It's still a pretty cool scene. The whole opening sequence is really fun to watch. And just that, like I said, it feels, it's like, I don't know, man. It feels different. And then the legacy characters felt like they still had something to do. This is only the second movie in the franchise. They still feel very fresh and feel like we still have a lot to learn about these characters, which we did. And Wes Craven did a really good job writing that. Once again, this was a movie that was supposed to be something totally different, and the studio just got involved once again. So I would have, when Scream 1 came out, the movie, apparently the franchise, Wes Craven wanted a trilogy. He laid out the trilogy, and then the studio kind of switched it on him. So this is not, I don't think this is the Scream 2 that Wes Craven wanted to make, but it still worked out really well with some really good moments. You get some of the best Gale and Dewey moments. This is when Gale was still a really fun character. This movie is just a feel-good, fun, atmospheric, really exciting movie, and the third act is really, really good. Now, these two killers and Stu's mom, Debbie Salt, I believe her name was, and Mickey, these two killers are actually some of my least favorite killers, just because there's not really a mystery to this film when it comes to finding out who the killers are. There obviously is a mystery there, but it's not what Scream 1 was, or Scream 6, or Scream 4. You just didn't really feel it as much in this film. So the killer reveals is kind of like, okay, sure, but the way that they did it was really cool, with being on the stage and having the different props and everything was really well done. And then the whole, can you trust Derek, your boyfriend? This was like Sydney's, mindset. Can you trust Derek? Do you trust Mickey? What do you do in this situation? Or Cotton, I believe, right? Whatever the situation was, it was really, really cool. And I love how that ending played out with that. But like I stated earlier, the big con I have with this movie is I don't like Cotton Weary as a character at all. He was cool in Scream 1, but when you focus on him heavily in Scream 2, I was like, I'm not really into it. And they really leaned into Cotton Weary in this Scream movie. And it kind of gets, he's a very obnoxious character after a while. But overall, I really enjoy it. And with number 1, by no surprise to anybody, is Scream 1. This is probably the most brilliant horror movie I've ever seen, and one of the most brilliant and probably planned out movies I've ever seen, ever. The subtle hints that Wes Craven puts in this film for the different killers, the way he goes about things, the pacing in this movie is unreal, and it's so consistent. And this is not like a unrewatchable film. This is not a movie that you can only watch one time, and because plot twist movies are like that, and whodunits are kind of like that, where you watch it once, you're like, okay, cool, I know who it is, I don't want to watch it again. This is a whodunit which is very, very rewatchable. I mean, you could sit here and watch this movie 20 times in a row and not get bored of it, because there's so many hints, there's so many things that Wes Craven hides in this film that you never catch. You never catch everything that Wes Craven does in this movie. And every time I watch it, I find something new. I catch something new. You see Stu and Billy communicating throughout this entire movie in very subtle ways. That works really well. And the mystery aspect is done the best in this movie. The who is the killer is done in the best possible way in this film. And the third act is just beautifully done. Sydney is the best final girl ever. This movie just worked. It just worked. Everything from the opening with Drew Barrymore, which is probably my favorite opening of all time, to the ending with you hit me with the phone, dick. Everything's just great. Everything's just great overall, and it's just a really fun film. There's really not much to say about it, man. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time and one of my favorite films of all time. So there you go. There's my ranking. You guys let me know, what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know your picks down below, and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new, with that little bell notification so you're notified every single time I post. And I will see you guys next week, man. Later.